Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. That's ELPIS to my podcast listeners. And I want to make a special welcome to them as well. All right, so this is the astrological forecast as I see it for April 2022. And this is an action-packed month with a Jupiter conjunct Neptune. We've got an eclipse happening this month as well. So I'm going to cover the introduction to start off with, and this will be at length. I'll go into the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and what it means. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to actually give each of you your sun signs and or ascendant and my take on the month of April for your sign by sign. And I'll put the timestamp in here for those that want to either come back for a second time or go straight to their forecast. So the main event of April 2022 really rests on two planets, and actually a third one, the luminary, which I'll discuss in a minute. So we're talking about Jupiter conjuncting Neptune on the 12th of April 2022 at 22 degrees of Pisces. And this is what we're looking at, this degree point. So check your chart to see if specifically you've got anything around, say, 21 to 23 degrees of Pisces, or the opposite sign, which of course is Virgo, so that's 21 to 23 degrees. It really is those, or are those degree points that will be most affected in terms of really getting some energy from this conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune. Otherwise, you could just see this as a very pleasant day or a pleasant number of days or even a pleasant month. So I would say Pisces, this is like a once in a lifetime thing for you. And I would definitely earmark April in terms of making your dreams come true, starting a new business if that's what you want to do. Even getting married might be good at this time. Of course, you do have to look at your individual charts, and I'd be happy to do that for you. All my services and connections to my website and to me are listed below. I also have another video that I go into in depth where I talk about Jupiter in Pisces, and I go into all my sun signs and ascendants there, and I specifically talk at length about Jupiter being in Pisces, and I go into the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction as well. So for those that want even more detail, check out that link before. And I've also got the North Nodes of the Moon video too. I'll put that link in here because it all kind of works together this month. All right. So what I thought was interesting, I looked at the main conjunction, which is on the 12th of April. And so if you have your birthday on the 12th of April, congratulations. I would expect that at least for the month of April, you're going to have a lot of very wonderful luck coming your way. But what's really interesting is a few days later what happens. So on the 12th of April, we have the moon will be ingressing into Virgo at 0 degrees of Virgo. It doesn't really make any connections with this conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune at this time. But then I followed it for a few days, and I saw that culminating on the 14th of April was this moon in Virgo, which of course is going to be opposite where the conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune happened in Pisces. It, on the 14th of April, is at 24 degrees of Virgo. Well, this forms an exact opposition to that Jupiter-Neptune. And I really felt that it was this day that really set off the energies of both Jupiter and Neptune in conjunction. Because there's other things besides the opposition happening with the moon. And just for those learning astrology, certainly the two most important luminaries in your chart does involve the moon as well as the sun. So here we have this important luminary in the chart coming round to actually oppose this beautiful Jupiter conjunct Neptune. And I think really set it off is what I think it does. But we also have a yod that is formed. And this yod is formed by Saturn, which is at 23 degrees of Aquarius, And the sun, which is at 24 degrees of Aries, it's pointing at this Virgo moon at 24 degrees of Virgo in 1 minute. So I think this adds extra emphasis to the truly, I guess, magical aspects of this Jupiter conjunct Neptune. Now I'm going to go into each of these planets separately and combine them as well, because there's always two sides to a planet. Sure, we've got lots of positive stuff happening here, but there's also a little negative side to both Jupiter and Neptune, especially when they conjunct. It really depends on where you are at as an individual in terms of receiving these energies, and then of course sending out energies as well. That's why it's so important to really look at your individual chart. I also looked at the Sabian symbol, not for the conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune, but at this important luminary of the moon forming an opposition to the conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune. And so that Sabian symbol, you round up, of course, when you're looking at the degrees, and you round it up to 25 degrees of Virgo. And so the saying that goes with this degree point is a flag at half-mast in front of a public building. So this speaks to public recognition to an individual, or maybe individuals, who has given great public service. Now this could be a metaphorical picture, of course, where we just honor a person or people that have really given public service, or it could be that somebody passes on at this time and there's a great deal of service, a recognition for this person's service given at around this time. And again, I'm talking about the 14th of April, when the moon opposes the Jupiter conjunct Neptune. We also have at this time period of the Jupiter, Neptune, and the moon, we have Saturn is in conjunct, first of all, to Jupiter, and then to Neptune on that day, the 14th of April. And it also squares the north and south nodes of the moon. And of course, the north and south nodes of the moon really refers to our collective destiny at this point in time. An inconjunct of Saturn really says you can't really fit the pieces together. They're not fitting together properly. If you can just picture a puzzle and you don't have the right piece and you keep trying to put it in, but it's not going to work to put the picture together. So it seems to be, even though there may be some wonderful experiences and at the very least some very beautiful feelings and high level consciousness, there may be some kind of not the whole picture working out at this time. There's still kinks to be worked out with regards to making these maybe dreams come true in your life. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Saturn also is like the stoplight. It's also literally saying you got to stop. So there may be people that are older than you, or people in positions of power that rule over institutions, for instance. I'm thinking in particularly government representing Saturn, where they're not in agreement with what the general population wants, as well as what the individuals want. And they're throwing up some roadblocks. That's also Saturn too. It's also saying, you know, at an individual level, just be a little cautious, be a little circumspect with regards to maybe how you're seeing things. And the square with the north and south nodes really said, I would say, to me, that says the time isn't right. And that also feeds into Saturn, which also is Father Time. Okay, so just bear that in mind around, let's just take the whole month of April, even though this is kind of mid-April this is happening. I would just earmark the whole month of April as to have some wonderful things potentially coming your way, especially if you come into the degree points that I spoke about. All right, let's go into these planets individually. And what I'm going to try to do is to at least synthesize the effects of these planets in a way that you can maybe better understand. And then, as I mentioned, I'll go into each of your individual signs later. All right, Neptune. So Neptune is an agent of energy. It is not the energy. So when we have Jupiter conjuncting Neptune, we have the energy, right, increasing. And of course, if we look at Jupiter, Jupiter does grow and increase everything it touches. So this is like super energy is what it boils down to, especially if you've got something around these degree points. It gives us unlimited possibilities. It's potentially when magic and miracles and dreams come true. But on the flip side of that, of course, there is this Neptune effect of illusion or rose-colored glasses, where everything seems rosy, everything seems beautiful, everything seems within reach. But in reality, there may be some illusion around this, and with Jupiter adding energy to that energy, it could be that we are not seeing things as they really are. And truly, we're not going to be seeing things truly as they are until we continue to go through 2022. But don't give up your dreams and don't give up on magic and miracles. It doesn't mean that won't come true. Now, the other thing from a mundane standpoint, if we push this out into the world, Neptune also rules the film industry, photographs, right? So there may be something that comes up that's important in that industry, or maybe even some new developments. I mean, Jupiter can add beneficial things there, so there might be some new things that come through that we've not discovered with regards to either processing film, making film, etc., that is important around this time, the month of April. It can also be a time of confusion and doubt. So I would say for those that are in that realm, with Jupiter coming in there, just adding a lot of benefits, a lot of happiness and a lot of positiveness, that's also Jupiter. Jupiter I always liken to Santa Claus. He just wants to give you gifts. But I also think that this is a positive energy. So for those that have been in a different world where there's been confusion or doubt, know that in April, certainly there can be energy in there that can lift you out of that. So allow those energies, or those people even, to come in that are more positive in your life to bring you up to a higher level and a more positive standpoint in your life. This Neptune also makes you highly sensitive. It's great for intuition and can be very psychic. So if you are already in that sort of realm of being sensitive, you're going to find that there's going to be big hits at this time. So your intuition's going to be on, and as I said, for those people that are open to that type of energy, this is going to be just pouring in at this time. And so I would say, at the very least, we should all be listening to our inner selves, right? You can always, connect with other people and get their views on things before you maybe take a big leap into something. But understand that we are going to be having these great intuitions where we just know, right? It's a very perceptive type of energy, and of course it's what's called source energy, or the universe, and for some people, God. So again, if you are open and sensitive to this type of energy, you literally could be getting major downloads from source, the universe, or God, where you're actually given information that's important for you and the conduct of your life. This is an upgrade for humanity at this time. This is a once-in-a-lifetime effect that's happening here for everybody on the earth right now. So if there was one area that I could encourage you as an individual, is to try to bring yourself up to a higher level of consciousness, to try to exist in the world of great compassion, forgiveness. And forgiveness doesn't mean that you forget things that someone has done to you. It just helps you step outside of that and not be engaged in that energy. I guess the easiest way to look at this would be something that most of us can do. Take that 10,000-foot view of your life at this time and see some of the magic and miracles that are happening in your life, and try to bring those at a certain level up to a higher level of consciousness, and see how you can tap into that. That, I think, would be the best way to use this energy if you really aren't sure how to use it. Now, you can go into sort of meditations. You could go into your regular yoga class, for instance, but maybe have an intention in that class that is at a higher level, where you really spend some time bringing yourself up to this higher level of consciousness. Maybe feeling great compassion for someone or something. If you can't hold on to that energy for a long length of time, that's okay. What we're trying to do is bring all of humankind up to a higher level, right? That's the main goal here, as I see it with this Jupiter conjunct Neptune. But as I said, for certain individuals, this is going to be a really magical time. And of course, Neptune also represents that high level of love, right? It's like true love. So there may be some people that have that come in for them, like out of the blue, something comes in that is your perfect mate. Again, you have to look at your individual charts. Some of the negative sides of this whole Jupiter conjunct Neptune can also bring in this feeling that I've got to make this great sacrifice, right? That is very Neptune-like, where the martyr, so that's like the opposite side of this. So for those that have those types of feelings come up, you need to look carefully at that and don't go towards that end of this Jupiter conjunct Neptune energy. You don't want to be taking this beautiful energy and then making this big, great sacrifice or going into some kind of martyr type of energy. That's not the high level of this energy. That's going towards the lower end. Drugs and alcohol are also Neptune's realm. And I was thinking about this. I thought, I wonder if we're going to make some discoveries of some sort with regards to drugs that I know some of the psychedelic drugs are going through sort of a revival in terms of really aiding a lot of people that maybe have addictions and that sort of thing, but actually it helps them get out of it. And there's a lot of scientific papers being written on that right now. So maybe we're going to hear more in the day-to-day news about that type of thing, where some of these drugs that maybe were thought to be not good for us can actually help people, especially with maybe some kind of disorders. That would be inspirational. And certainly Neptune does give great inspiration. You really feel good. You really feel that you can reach for that dream and it's going to come true. So all these types of feelings are going to come up in a lot of us. Okay. So when we look at Jupiter, I kind of covered him a little bit right now, but it is definitely associated with luck. It's associated with benefits. But at its core, wherever Jupiter is in your chart, it's asking you to grow there and to incorporate more of the outer world and what the outer world is about inside yourself and help you in many ways mature. Jupiter is a 12-year cycle, so we will have Jupiter come around to this point again in 12 years. But we're not going to have Neptune there. And that's why so much fanfare is being made of this conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune. We won't have it again in our lifetime. Jupiter also can be a teacher. It represents the law, it's religion, it's travel. It is a big connection with foreign people and foreign lands. It's seeing the big picture. It's seeing the future. Right? So in combination with Neptune, we're really saying we want to look at a highly spiritualized and metaphysical world. That's what this is really saying. But, you know, Jupiter, as it gets this cockiness and confidence, can also bring in arrogance. So you want to avoid that if you can. Sure, if you can see your dream coming true, that's wonderful and it's great to be excited about it. But be careful about going over the top because Jupiter can do that too. We have Mars that's also going to be in Pisces for the last half of April, and it will conjunct this point, the Jupiter conjunct Neptune, in May. So I would say that in May, there may be more more action that can be taken. So we're just looking at the next month, right, where you can start pressing the buttons and making things happen with regards to whatever it is that has given you inspiration or whatever dream that you're wanting to make come true. Look to May for some real action. It does represent males as well, so it literally could be a male comes in to make it happen, right? But at its core, certainly Mars on its own represents some kind of action or movement forward. But of course in Pisces, it's not the greatest place, but we'll just stick with the fact that it activates the conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune and gives it some more energy to move forward. Okay, as I mentioned, I've done a whole video on Jupiter in Pisces that includes a lot more detail about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction as well, and I go through all the signs. All right, the next thing that we have happening here, which kind of follows on the heels of this conjunction, on the 16th of April, we have a full moon in Libra at 26 Libra, 46 minutes, at 11:54 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and this is a Saturday. So I would say here we have Jupiter, conjuncting Neptune still by degree, but not by minute. So it's still going to be around the 24-degree mark at this full moon. And we have Mercury conjuncting Uranus. We have the Sun and the Moon squaring Pluto, and Saturn is still squaring the North and South nodes. But Saturn does sextile this Sun and trines the actual Moon. And Mars will just be at 1 degree of Pisces. Now we look to the ruler of this full moon, and of course that is Venus. And Venus is at 12 degrees of Pisces at this time, and she is sextiling Uranus. And just note that Venus will be in Pisces all month. And as a side note, she is going to be giving all the lovers out there for the month of April the feeling that, true love can happen to anybody. Certainly during the month of April, there's going to be those vibes around with Venus in Pisces. So we have the ruler in Pisces here. And although it's not activating the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, it still is exerting this beautiful, beautiful energy. Now, with the full moon here, I would say that there may be something to do with the law. I mean, Libra does represent the law. It represents balance and harmony. So there could be a big push here for, from the mundane standpoint, a lot of laws that are being enacted, maybe existing laws that are being enacted and put into effect. But being a full moon, this usually brings something to a culmination. So we could also say that maybe some of the peace and harmony may be crumbling a little bit. And it also could refer to those old laws crumbling as well, and that new ones need to be in place. I kind of got that as an intuitive hit for a mundane standpoint. But certainly for Libras, there may be some tie-up here for you, Libra, with regards to your life. Maybe something will happen over that weekend of the 16th of April that brings something to a conclusion for you. And certainly if you are involved in a court case, for instance, you may find, because you've got this influence of all April of Jupiter and Neptune together, you may find some real favor coming your way. Advisors or lawyers really help you out, Libra. In particular, Libra. Could be the opposite sign too, which of course is Aries. We have on the 18th of April, we have Mercury, planet of communication, and our thoughts, is going to be conjuncting Uranus at 13 degrees of Taurus. And this is going to be bringing us some surprising, maybe some shocking news over the airwaves, is what this says. See if this falls in your chart individually. You could have something come your way in terms of a message. It could be a message on email. It could be a message that you get on your phone, a text message, anything like that, if you've got something at 13 degrees of Taurus. But certainly we're going to be hearing something very unexpected during this time of the 18th of April. and something surprising as well. And maybe it'll be something regarding our foodstuffs, right? Because certainly Taurus represents anything to do with the land. All right, so we have on the 28th of April, Pluto is going to go retrograde. So that's going to be going retrograde at 28 degrees of Capricorn. And of course, we must remember that Pluto is making its way to the final degrees. There's 30 degrees in every sign. So at 28 degrees, it's almost out of Capricorn. Not quite. We're not going to see that until next year, where it goes in and out of Aquarius and Capricorn. So for Pluto to be going retrograde at this point, it kind of puts a stop in some respects on outward transformation, and it really more closely gives energy to inward transformation. And it does it at a slower level. Pluto works at a very slow level anyway. I mean, typically 10 to 12, 13 years, Pluto will stay in a sign. And so as it's coming to the end here of Capricorn, it's really tying up all those big changes in any of our institutions, whether it's our banking institution, the hospitals, our police, our government, all these things. And we see this every day in the press as well as on the news, that all these big changes are happening with regards to things that we've taken for granted as being our sources of power, the power that rules over it. So this is really kind of putting, it's kind of taking some power away in some respects by going retrograde to those in power and asking for inward transformation, right? Now it'll be another few months before Pluto will go direct again, and I'll cover that when that happens as well. So now at the very end of the month, on the 30th of April, we have our eclipse, our first eclipse, and it's a new moon eclipse. I always like new moon eclipses, and it is in Taurus. So Taurus, this is also a big month for you as well, and your opposite sign, Scorpio, too. So this eclipse is at 10 degrees of Taurus, 28 minutes. As I mentioned, it's on the 30th of April at 1:29 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Now the ruler of this eclipse is Venus too. And Venus will be conjunct Jupiter at 27 degrees of Pisces. Well, this is just going to be increasing greatly our luck. We'll be lucky in love. It can also bring big money your way too. I mean, Jupiter is big benefits. It's called the greater benefit, and being conjunct Venus, which is the lesser benefit, this could, if you've got something, say, around 27 degrees of Pisces, you could have a windfall coming in. That, when I first put this down and looked at this, I said, I see a lot of people having windfalls, but it can also, for those looking for love, this could be Lady Luck coming to visit you in the love department too. A really good day for those folks that have something around 27 degrees Pisces specifically, but also the opposite sign, Virgo, 27 degrees Virgo. And of course, as I mentioned, Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, so it adds in an extra bit of benefit and sweetness. Jupiter together with Venus is increasing the sweetness level. So I guess on one level, just be careful not to eat too many sweets. You're going to be tempted to at this time, especially if you have something around the 27 degree mark of Pisces. All right. We have also at this eclipse, we have Mercury, importantly, now going into Gemini. And you may recall that the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. So this is a positive sign too with regards to communications, right? We will have Uranus conjuncting this moon a little bit later in the day. So Uranus is all about surprises, unexpected things. And you know, when I say surprises and unexpected things, I don't mean that it's going to be negative. It's only if you've got energy set up that way that it will be negative, where something comes from outside to surprise you. This could just be a very pleasant, emotional surprise. So Uranus will conjunct the moon at 8:29 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So later on in the evening, there may be, for some people, a very pleasant surprise of some sort that comes up. And it might be to do with money or love or something to do with your possessions. Maybe that piece of art that you wanted to buy so much, or the piece of beautiful furniture goes on sale, and you can purchase it. We will have Mars will be sextiling both this moon and sun, as well as Uranus. This is positive. This is Mars energy coming in to just zap this eclipse and make the newness more tangible. That's what this Mars will do. It gives energy to the eclipse. And because it actually sextiles Uranus as well, this could be unexpected happenings. Now, with a sextile, we're always looking at opportunities. It's not saying it's going to happen to you or you have to have it happen to you. It just says, here, would you like this opportunity? So for some folks, you may have opportunities coming your way that could earn you money, bring you love, bring you new possessions that you really want. Okay, so we talked about Venus being the ruler of this eclipse, but note on your calendar that the 6th or 7th of June, the ruler, Venus, will conjunct this degree point of 10 degrees, 28 minutes of Taurus, 6th or 7th of June. What does that mean? That means that this is going to be a very pleasant occurrence for those that have something around the 10-degree mark of Taurus, of this eclipse. Some new beginning that was started for you may have a lot more benefits and sweetness thrown your way around the 6th or 7th of June. Perhaps for those people that are looking for love, you make something more permanent or more official, say around the 6th or 7th of June. Or maybe that money that you saw coming your way around this eclipse, the end of April, tangibly comes in your bank account around the 6th or 7th of June. Okay. We will still have those Saturn in conjunct to Neptune at 24 degrees, and Saturn will be in Aquarius, and of course we'll have Neptune will be in Pisces. And then of course we still have the square to the north-south nodes. So this is really saying that in order to make this permanent, in order to make this a timely thing, we're going to have to consider thinking outside the box. That's how I saw this square. In order for you to get on that new destiny path of incorporating this dream of yours or this magical thing or miracles in your life, you're going to have to think outside that box. You can do it, but it's not going to be just a straightforward pressing a button for you. It's just a small energy that's there, and in conjunct is a minor energy, but it's kind of can be annoying or can just ask you to look at one more thing. So maybe there's one more box you've got to check off before you get that dream come true. That's kind of what that talks about. All right, so next I'm going to be going into each of your individual. So Scorpio, we have this Jupiter conjunct Neptune in your 5th house of true love. And of course, Pisces being a water sign, it trines your sign, so it brings you positive energy, right? So the water signs are very much affected by, in a positive way, maybe even too positive, where some folks may see things flying by that they should pay more attention to because the energy is so easy. So for some folks that are open to it, Scorpios, you could have your idealized love person come into your life at this time. It also increases creativity to a high level. So for those Scorpios that maybe are working on creative projects, you are going to be super inspired. You could have a lot of good luck. You could have good people come in at this time to not only inspire you, but to provide benefits for you with regards to a creative project. Harness those energies if you've got a big creative project that you really need to make, to materialize. You're going to get all the help here to have that happen. But certainly for those Scorpios that are creative, that are, say, in the creative arts, this is going to be a big time of producing some absolutely phenomenal pieces, whatever they are in terms of art and creativity. Your children could become very important for you at this time. Maybe some lucky things happens to them. Perhaps you or your mate becomes pregnant. This is a dream come true. You've not been able to get pregnant, or your partner's not been able to become pregnant, and somebody becomes pregnant at this time, and it truly is a dream come true. That can happen at this time with this conjunction in your 5th house as well. The full moon in Libra is in your 12th house. 12th house is really all about metaphysical world, and of course, Scorpio, you deal in the metaphysical world, generally speaking. You're highly psychic, you're very intuitive. So this full moon, I felt for you, Scorpio, is going to bring some closure, but I didn't get a bad feeling about it. So it could be that this Jupiter-Neptune brings in this fabulous love for you, and you have to close some other aspect of your life, or some other aspect of your life is closing at this time naturally, right, at the full moon, to allow you to have this idealized love mature over time. I kind of got those two going together that way. What else could this be for you? It could be that you decide at this time, you also could have some legal matter come to an abrupt closure at this time. That could happen too. Full moons can bring secrets to light though. So I guess from either a negative standpoint or just an enlightenment standpoint, some secret may pop up that really helps you close something, that you say, that's the final thing that I needed to know that helps me close that book, shut that door. I saw this as a positive full moon for you, Scorpio. Now, the new moon in Taurus is in your 7th house. And this forms, of course, is opposition to Scorpio. And Scorpio, you know you've got the south nodes currently in your sign, and the north nodes are up there in your opposite sign of Taurus. So this is an important new moon eclipse. All the eclipses happening in either your sign, Scorpio, or this one, which is in Taurus, are extremely important for you to change your destiny, right? To the positive, to get you on your destiny path. So what area of your destiny path are we talking about with this new moon in Taurus? Well, we're talking about the 7th house. And of course, the 7th house represents all partnerships and clients. At its best, this could have someone of marriage potential come in for you. And I think that that may be tied in with that, what I just spoke about, which is Jupiter-Neptune in your 5th house of true love. This could manifest at the end of the month of it being an obvious person that you want to marry. But it can also bring in business partnerships. It's a new moon, Scorpio. So if you have to put together a cadre of people for a business partnership, this is great start for you, and you can pull in that whole effect of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April to put together a fabulous group of people at this time. Now, this new moon can also bring clients in, right? The 7th house is of clients. So if the work that you do has clients, expect to have a whole new level of people come in at this time that is going to really change your destiny path here. So this is a big effect for you, Scorpio. The two signs that are going to be affected directly and most at this time with this new moon eclipse in Taurus are you, Scorpio, and your opposite sign of Taurus. So this new moon eclipse is very important for you with all 7th house matters. It's a new start there for you. Good luck, Scorpio. All right, so I'm just going to end up here talking about a little bit about May. So in May, we have not our first eclipse, but we have our first total eclipse. And of course, total eclipses are much more powerful. And it's going to be a full moon at 23 degrees of Scorpio on the 16th of May, 2022. I'll cover this in some detail in my next monthly video, but I actually picked this out as a specific video, and I've done all sun signs and ascendants already. I'll leave that link for those that might want to look at it, but I will cover it in detail as well for each of the signs in my May astrology forecast. I'm wishing everyone lots of luck with having their dreams come true, miracles happening, and magical times during the month of April. Leave me comments, contact me if you would like to have your chart read. I would say this is an ideal time to have that. Bye for now, and we will talk to you soon.